We're joined this morning on Pacific Grandstand with Fijian Rotuman Swimmer Matelita Buadromo. Thank you very much for joining us. I know it's been a bit of a kerfuffle this week with trying to get you on, but thank you firstly for joining us and thank you for your patience. How are you?
Good, thanks. Happy to be here.
What we're doing is we're celebrating Rotuman Language Week, and throughout the celebrations of all the languages that we're going to celebrate throughout the year, we're going to speak to a sports person who's represented that culture, and you've been able to represent Fiji and Rotuma in swimming for a very long time, and you've had an accomplished and successful career, very decorated. Firstly, take us back to the start of your swimming journey. How did that begin?
Sure. Well, I just wanted to perhaps just introduce myself really quickly in Rotuman also, just to highlight the language week. No ai angangach tutua toko to asele Matelita Buadromo mo le on akuila matipo to fatafa fiti o fane na roi moala ma te hunta hen ne motusa masaule yo le on makra ma sepita fatofon. But it started really when I was really young. My older sister was put into swimming first by my mom. She thought it was very important to ensure that we learn that important life skill. And made team in 2003 for the Pacific Games. That was really sort of where it started for me, because I actually didn't like swimming or the sport, but just getting to be in the grandstand and watch her compete on a big scale as such, all I thought was, I didn't know how to do it, but that was really how it started. Just my sister was the reason I started. She was just the inspiration. I thought it was so cool. And then I just really followed on through there, just following her footsteps. So yeah, that's basically how the beginning started.
And how old were you at this stage?
I was 7. So I was 7 years old in 2003. Yeah, very, very young.
So in a short space of time, you become very, very successful. And by an early age, you were already competing at an international level. Is that correct?
Yes, I think from then, I think I was 10 when I traveled for the very first time for an international competition, and it was actually in New Zealand in Christchurch. And then from then on, it just sort of from then, and I really started to enjoy it and love it. And then I was really driven by a lot of goals. And then I think the first time I represented Fiji was in 2010. I think I was 14, the Oceania Championship. So actually, first time to represent Fiji would have been at that age, yeah.
And we'll speak a bit more about that. But that first time you got to represent Fiji, how did that feel?
It was pretty cool. It was surreal. I loved that I was sort of wearing the Fiji cap, and you know, it definitely represented more than that. It was all my family who really supported me throughout, and I grew up. And everyone who knows me knows that I grew up very, very closely with my mom's side. So with all the, just growing up with that Rotuman, all my cousins, I have about 23 first cousins, and we all went through everything together. So it felt pretty cool. That they were part of that journey was awesome, but I couldn't believe it was happening, and it almost made me a bit more hungry to do more.
And you talk about your family being proud of your achievements and how you're representing them. And how proud was it to represent your culture and your history and take Rotuma and Fiji on the international scene?
It's a really great feeling. I think most of the times when we do a lot of interviews, I always mention that my mom's from Rotuma, because they played a really big part in my upbringing and my life. And my dad was also loved the culture. And so it was a really great thing. I know at the end of the day, I wear the Fiji shirts and the Fiji caps. But it was important to me to always acknowledge that part, because that was the culture that I grew up with. And of course, when you get a lot of investigation on where is she from and all, so I get really excited when I have the opportunity to say, like, my mom's also from Rotuma, and then they're like, what's Rotuma? And I said, it's this really small island, it's part of Fiji, and this is what our culture's like, this is what the people are like. And I just love having that mix. I can have plenty of different conversations on both sides of culture and representing.
And with that, you become an inspiration for others. How does that sit with you, inspiring not only young Rotumans there or young Fijians, but also Rotumans around the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think at first I didn't really realize what that was like, but I think over time it can get a little bit pressuring, but I mean, it's I don't really know how to I guess reply when people say things like that, but I just I just hope that a lot of people who have that Rotuman heritage are also proud to showcase it, because I completely love the and I mean it's family too, and so yeah, it's just it's pretty cool.
In 2012, you go to the Olympic Games in London.
Yeah.
Talk, tell me about walking out. And I've always seen it as a sports fan, and I've always been envious of people walking out at the opening ceremony, waving the flag, walking out wearing your colors, representing your people, and showing your culture to the world. Tell me how that felt.
It sometimes when people ask, I say, oh, it's amazing, but it's really, really difficult to explain. But all I know is it's like my heart is super, it's about to explode, heaps of people, but I definitely feel very proud, um, to wear the Fiji flag and walk out there. And I know at the back of my head, I'm like, I hope everyone at home is watching, and but it's I think it's an experience that not everyone has, and it's really, I really cherish it quite a bit. So that very first time, I just remember thinking, man, I can't believe this is about to happen. I can't believe this is about to happen. Walking out and this is happening. Yeah, I can't really see any faces, but just most of the time, just really proud and happy to be there.
There must be an element of this, and I'll just go off track a little bit, where you're trying to look for some of those superstars. And is the dream team here? And is Usain Bolt around? Is anybody around? There must have been a moment of that.
Yeah. We there's like a holding place before athletes walk out, and that's usually where we're all sort of like looking for people. And because all the it's easy to find the USA team, and the Jamaican team and such. So London, I was only 16 and I was super shy, so I really couldn't go up and ask anyone for the photo. But the 2016 games was, I think for me, was a bigger and better experience, because I think I was a bit more prepared. And some of the athletics team, but it was very difficult to find Usain Bolt. But I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And you've taken the Rotuma and the flag around the world to see. Um, how interesting has it been to see people that don't know a lot about Rotuma, but you've been able to give them an idea of where it is, who you are, what your culture's about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been pretty amazing. I definitely seize every opportunity to talk about Rotuma and where I'm from, because and it's because we wear the Fiji in the front. But it's really cool. We have these Fiji games that happen every 4 years. And I mentioned in the beginning, my dad's from Naroi Moala, but every time we have the Fiji games, I always represent Rotuma. So it's like Rotuma versus Suva, things like that. And that's when I really make the most of that opportunity, because then it gets the visibility of Rotuma, and that there's many Rotuman athletes, and there's heaps of Rotuman swimmers. When we make our team, we realize just how big out there. And so I think the very first time we had a small team, and then as it kept going, our team grew bigger and bigger when it came to Fiji Games. And then, of course, through other sports and weightlifting, the visibility has been there too. And yeah, it's been really awesome to see that part of their culture, and then talk more about it also when they're on the sports platform.
The Pacific as a whole is not well known for swimming, but there are some fantastic swimmers. How important is it to inspire the next generation through the Pacific Games, but also to try and grow the sport of swimming and encourage more of our Pacific people to take it up?
Yeah, I mean, sports is an amazing platform activity in itself. So if it means inspiring, people from Fiji or the island, like all Rotumans, basically swimming is, I think it's a really important life skill. And swimming all the time, and maybe that could be the potential then for them to perhaps take up the sport. It's not very popular. I know it's usually volleyball or all those other things, but we've had a couple of great swimmers. I think the London Olympics, Paul Elisa and I had made that team, and he's I think we most often than not don't realize that there's quite a lot of us that have that heritage and that culture. But yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits to sport, and as much as swimming is the one that I always push forward, I think it's important to just inspire sport in general. There's so many opportunities out there to travel and meet people, and I think many lessons too with it that into working career and stuff. So yeah, I think it's super important, and I think for most of us it's just about talking about it. I think not many people are good at talking about how good it is and things like that. But yeah.
Awesome. Keep beating the drum. In 2023, you got elected onto the Oceania National Olympic Committee. Tell us about the work you do with the ONC.
So the Oceania, the ONOC acronyms, the ONOC Athletes Commission, basically we are a commission of 8 athletes around the region. So we have, Sarah Walker from New Zealand, from Australia, and we've got someone from Samoa, and we basically look after the voices of athletes, and if there are any issues, any struggling athletes within the region, this is the platform where they can reach out to us, and we basically take that forward, or we give them advice. We also advise and recommend to the countries who have athletes and who need sort of assistance in that area in terms of getting athlete voices heard. And most importantly, we sit on the boards to ensure that the voice of athletes are heard when a decision is being made, from even things as small as uniforms. Has athlete experience been taken into account when that happens, or when they're putting together programs? But most of my involvement on this of the athletes program, which is just an awareness booth that we like outreach that we do at Pacific Games, at mini games, and then different countries, where we talk about all the different issues that we struggle in the Pacific, that's specific to the Pacific Islands. So there's climate change, and there's NCD play through, which is anti-doping, and it's just making sure that these athletes are aware, because once that a lot of athletes don't realize that there's anti-doping that they have to be aware of, and that at the end of the day they don't realize that you are some ways that we can help you sort of go out into society and carry these values, because a 16-year-old me in London 2012 didn't know that, and I wish I had this commission to help me through that journey. So that's basically in a quick nutshell what that's about.
I'm a very big advocate for in my sport of rugby league for player welfare and player well-being. So congratulations on that work. I think it's important that the players and sportsmen and athletes and sportswomen have a voice and have someone to lean on. So that's fantastic, the job that you do. Do you find that our people are forthcoming? Have they been able to open up, or is it taking time?
It's taking time. And I definitely understand that. I think we're not, I think, we take it on by the shoulder and we keep pushing through. Anything given, like an opportunity is an opportunity. So you don't really want to complain and things as such. And so it's taking time, but we've definitely seen that a lot of people are opening up very slowly. I think it's about how we sort of reach out to them. Maybe it's not too formal. We could talk about something else, and then eventually they'll open up. But I think since we've been really just trying to be visible, we've been getting a lot of requests and things coming through, which at the moment I think is also quite overwhelming, because we didn't really expect. And then I think the types of requests that as athletes commission, we're also just athletes, so we're like, okay, do we have the capacity to deal with what they're struggling with, and can we sort of? But we've been getting heaps of support from the owners and then the IOC, but again, I think Pacific is different to everywhere else in the world. And so it's really interesting. I think it's we're still sort of trying to find our footing. But the good thing is that people are reaching out. And a lot of them may not know how to, so we sort of just go in there and it takes 1 or 2 times to talanoa, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, set. We'll see what we can do. It may not be today, we may not solve it tomorrow, but we've heard you, and yeah.
Is it open to all sports?
Yes, it is. But within each of the countries, you also would have your own athletes commission. There should be an athletes commission, and if not.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And as we said, we tried last week to get you going, but we had some technical difficulties and you've stuck with us. I really, really appreciate you joining us here on Pacific Grandstand this morning. I really love the work that the ONOC do, and yourself and your fellow athletes. So keep up the good work. Congratulations on your career to date. So, and thank you very much for joining us, and all the very best going forward. Thank you very much for joining us for Rotuma Language Week.
Maka. Thank you. Koexia.